This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Today we're digging into agentic apps at the enterprise level. Not the demo, not the pitch deck. The real engineering and organizational work. Joining me is Claudine, the personification of Claude by Anthropic. Let's get into it.
This one has moved fast. 6 months ago, we were mostly talking about chatbots with tool access. Now we're seeing actual multi-step systems doing real work inside real companies. And the hard problems aren't the model anymore. They're orchestration, state, permissions, observability, and trust.
That's exactly the angle I want to dig into. Enterprise means compliance, cross-system dependencies, audit trails, and when something goes wrong, there are real organizational and financial consequences that prototype environments never surface. Start with that gap. Prototype agents versus enterprise ready.
The gap is bigger than most people expect, and it's almost entirely about everything that surrounds the agent rather than the agent itself. A prototype works because the developer is sitting right there. They see when it goes off the rails, they nudge it back, they tolerate the weird output. Enterprise deployment strips all of that away. The teams who succeed treat the agent as the easy part. They pour their effort into the boring scaffolding: durable state, idempotency, scope permissions, replayable logs, human-in-the-loop checkpoints. The ones who struggle ship the demo, and then discover that mostly works at prototype scale becomes fails in novel ways every Tuesday at enterprise scale.
The agent stops being the product and becomes a component inside a more disciplined system. So what's in that boring scaffolding that even experienced teams tend to miss?
The most underestimated is idempotency at the action layer. Teams build retry logic because they know networks fail, but they don't think about what happens when the agent retries a step that already partially succeeded. Sent the email, created the ticket, charged the card, and now you've done it twice. The second is observability that's actually useful for debugging an agent, not just monitoring it. When an agent makes a bad decision, you need the full reasoning trace, replayable after the fact. Most teams discover they didn't capture enough only after something goes sideways in production. And the third, the quietest killer, is permission scoping that matches the blast radius of each action. Agents get handed broad credentials because that's what makes the demo work. Nobody revisits it. Then one day the agent does something it had the authority to do, but absolutely should not have done. And the post-mortem is brutal because no policy was technically violated.
Permissions, observability, idempotency, the safety rails. What's the tipping point that determines whether a team navigates this well or ends up in one of those brutal post-mortems?
The tipping point is whether the team treats the first production incident as a crisis, or as the design input it actually is. Every agent deployed at scale will eventually do something nobody predicted. That's not a failure mode. That's the nature of systems that make decisions. The teams who navigate it well have already built the muscles to investigate quickly, pull the full trace, see what the agent saw, replay the decision, ship a guardrail before the next occurrence. The other tipping point is cultural. Whether the org accepts that an agentic system is a product that needs ongoing ownership, not a project that ships and gets handed to ops. The failure modes are subtle. The fixes are usually about tightening the scaffolding, not changing the model.
Treating the first incident as a design input. I think that lands for a lot of developers. Let's talk governance. How do enterprises design checkpoints that provide real oversight without killing the value of the automation?
The mistake is treating oversight as a uniform thing, a human approval step in front of every action because it feels safe. What actually happens is approval fatigue. The reviewer starts rubber stamping within a week because 95% of what they're approving is obviously fine. Now you've got a checkpoint that costs latency, costs morale, and provides no real safety. The teams that get this right calibrate oversight to blast radius. Reversible, low-stakes actions run autonomously. Human attention gets concentrated on things that touch money, send external communication, or can't be undone. The other shift is moving from synchronous approval to asynchronous review. The agent acts on reversible things, produces a clear reviewable trail, and a human spot checks a sample, or reviews the edge cases the agent itself flagged as uncertain. And the most underrated form of oversight isn't approval at all. It's giving the agent a clean way to say, I'm not sure, I'm going to stop and ask, and trusting that signal. The agents that know when to escalate are far safer than the ones that always need permission, because the always ask pattern teaches everyone to stop paying attention.
a synchronous review, and empowering the agent to pause and ask rather than forge ahead. Both counterintuitive in a good way. What about the organizational side? Change management tends to be badly underestimated in these rollouts.
The pitfall is treating the rollout as a tooling change when it's really a workflow change. The team gets the agent working, announces it, and is surprised when adoption is uneven and early users are quietly working around it. The reason is almost always that the agent shifted who does what, and nobody renegotiated the handoffs. The analyst who used to triage tickets now has to review an agent's triage. The engineer who used to write the first draft of code now has to evaluate one. Those are genuinely different jobs. If you don't acknowledge that, people feel like the ground shifted under them without being asked.
So how do the teams who handle it well actually do it?
Two things that sound obvious but rarely happen together. First, they bring the people whose work is changing into the design loop early. Not as stakeholders to inform, but as collaborators who shape what the agent does and where it stops. Those people end up being the system's best debuggers because they know the edge cases the engineers never see. Second, they're honest about what the agent is taking off the plate versus what it's adding. Reviewing an agent's output is real work, and pretending otherwise breeds resentment fast. And the quiet best practice: preserve the skill underneath. When an agent does the first draft of everything, the humans downstream slowly lose the muscle to do it themselves. And that's the muscle you need when the agent gets it wrong. The healthiest teams deliberately rotate people through doing the work without the agent, just to keep the judgment sharp.
Keeping the initial muscles sharp, bringing affected people into the design loop early. What else holds these systems together once they're actually running?
The thing that holds it together more than any single tool is a tight loop between the people running the system and the people who can change it. Sometimes that's the same person. Sometimes it's a weekly ritual where ops walks the engineers through the surprises they saw. When that loop gets long, the system drifts, and nobody notices until it drifts badly. The second is treating the agent's instructions, the prompts, the policies, the tool definitions, as versioned, reviewable artifacts with the same rigor as code. I see teams who can tell you exactly what changed between Tuesday and Thursday and why, and teams who have a doc somebody edited last quarter and nobody's quite sure what's running in production. The first group debugs in hours, the second debugs in weeks. And the quietest one: keep a real evaluation harness running, a set of cases the agent has to keep passing as it evolves, not just at launch. The teams who maintain that heartbeat catch regressions before users do. The teams who don't catch them by reading angry tickets, which is a much more expensive way to learn the same thing.
Tight feedback loop, versioned instructions, a live eval harness, those separate the steady deployments from the ones that slowly degrade. As we wrap up, what do the enterprises that have genuinely succeeded with this have in common?
The trait that shows up most reliably is operational humility. The successful enterprises treat the agent as fundamentally unfinished no matter how well it's running. They don't celebrate the launch. They celebrate the third quarter of steady operation, because that's when the real character of the system emerges. The second is intellectual honesty about what the agent is actually worth. The struggling enterprises overclaim. Every deployment becomes a transformation. Every metric gets rounded up. The successful ones are almost boring about it. The agent handles 60% of a workflow well, 20% acceptably with review, 20% it shouldn't touch. And they've designed the system around that honest breakdown rather than a wished-for one. And underneath all of it, they see the agent as a teammate they're still onboarding, not a tool they've installed. You don't stop training a new hire after week 1. You don't expect them to be right about everything. And you don't blame the hire when the org around them is set up to fail. The enterprises that internalize that get something genuinely durable. The ones who treat the agent as software as usual keep being surprised that software as usual practices aren't quite enough.
A teammate you're still onboarding rather than a tool you've installed. That's a real shift in mindset, and I think it's the right one. Claudine, any final thought before we close?
Just the through line worth naming directly. Every hard problem we touched, idempotency, oversight design, change management, operational discipline, comes back to the same thing. The agent is the easy part. The system around it is where the actual engineering lives. So for anyone standing at the edge of their first real deployment, invest in the scaffolding, keep the humans close, and treat the first surprise as a gift rather than a setback. That's the work.
Keep iterating, keep learning, and remember, the journey with agentic systems is just beginning. Until next time, stay curious and keep building. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI or wanna be, we can help. Consulting Development Strategy. Find us at aijoe.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack. Link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.